This one's called Fortrade, Fortran. That's what Rodney asked about. Can you make what we already, do you remember? How did the people have? Let it get around and get on in. Complicity in Scar City, Arkansas. Complexity in Complicita, Louisiana. Here go a box with a lid on it. If you open it, you can come into our world. Up in here, you look like Cuddy do. House look like he up. If so, don't you want to go? Live, remote, preoccupied with breathing and black as machine ecology, Iron Man, all over the pan, all over the basin, Duong. Chant, carry pauses, and actually live inside them. Gift double. To see things and say, can you hear them vary, Pearl? From then, beginning all gone inside, remember threshold? Surround her separateness with bands, but if I were a bell? Exhaustion makes life everlasting. When I dance with you, I am the moved mover, baby. You're a solid cinder. We pound plenty, baby. Softened in our program, our transubstantial fade and cross-fade bodies, baby. Take this and think about me in the first place. Beginning the real presence of my skin, baby. You shook me. Your hand is my pocket. I'm a pocket man. Your hand is in my pocket. I fix broken rockets. You are my starship. You're all I need. You send for me and I can't keep myself from coming, baby. As I am, I have what I already have. I'm yours. Precision and humility in the experiment is written on the way you customize your uniform. A ritual of lotion and stillness in the morning before you make it into work on the edge of your train. On the edge because you're driven to the edge in your violent correctness. Over the edge of what you're listening to, like somebody listening to you. You might be one. You might be someone that needs listening to. You might need somebody too. A lot of this is found in what we have. Almost all of this belongs to you. Are you gonna give me some? Nah, you on your way to work, little sister. That's all right, young man. Bye, baby. The unspeakable tower is what they did. Our shit has some names and sometimes they sound good at the bottom of it. Therefore, proceed against that little pillhead fucker to correct people's pronunciation. Fortran, ain't really got to where we got somewhere to go. Premature precepts dripped from deferred foreskins, brought out from nowhere with forceps with no receptacle. But early on, my grammar cleft my palate with okras and blues. Mimi said, don't listen to them blues. She knew she should because her shoe moved. She knew the man playing Ray Charles was Ray Charles. She put the jazz cry on an early stove, cooked it down to a low gravy. With this trade, little fours, your dirty palate, a savory train between in blood sorbet, let it dry and made a vase out of it. We poured what was in it on our greens and blues and ochres, our loud flavors, and the tree we danced around. The tree we made a movie around against that little pillhead fucker that correct people's predestination. Faux, faux, faux. 4, 4, 4. 4, 4, 4. Faux, faux, faux. Semper Fi, Semper Fi, motherfucker. Fume instead of kill. The incident in crosshatches, a burst of whispers, a mouthpiece in blurred air. In need turned out to be our desire, a video of the archive in play. It's some indelicate news on the wall, something in silence for everything that everybody ever wanted, crisis for everything that ever burned inside. My baby's black representational space is another world. Black workers of the world unite up in there. One named Peanut, the other named Bush, making shit up on Chance Theater, which is a truck farm in Exploded Rose. My baby's black representational space is the South Dakota hills. You like the comfortable surprise of its location? See how it travels? It's other than itself, and it sells itself that way. Whose little self are you? Mine. My baby's black representational space is all over the place, so he got to move his body. Body cut the neurotypical field with a razor in the shape of a basketball. Somebody sing, "Give me body," you can hear it bounce. My baby's black representational space is a black head on some black skin. In the city of the blemish, on the blemish of delivery, the mayor's name is the mayor, but you can call her Woody or Few or Mole in the ground or at your service. It's called hand up to your ear. You are a base community. Apprehend before the sound. The cargo, the brutalized openings, which also surround it, but only for a time that can't be measured, impermeance. It's an imprecision bordering on invasion to call this context, that rapturous silence, shouting, composed in listening so we discompose ourselves in one another. Lose your composure in repose, at rest, in dissent, in the general murmur, a general antagonism of noise, the fugue of the absolutely poor, her gift of diving, her depressive largesse of lifting, in study, in series, her overlapped happenings of attendance, lapsed concentricities, submerged ciphers, like a bunch of little churches and ballrooms with open doors. You are the bottom. We care about each other so militantly, with such softness, that we exhaust ourselves and then record in the resonance of our slightly open mouths the sound of that in the absence of the enemy we keep making. A disconnected movement as if preoccupied, held already in the beautiful gathering afternoon, carried by one another as one another's play mamas. Listen to the sound through one another's skin. Preserve the sound through membrane and water to find our form in corresponding. Your body is a mixing board. Come take a listening walk and admire your hand twisting. The listening is in watching how you move to touch and sounding. Brushing up against your friend to see how his position sounds to make the music we are making by moving the people moving around. Make sound works out of rustling to notice the material that comes up on us, that we come upon. Do something with. Do something with the sound like it's your friend, like you met her at the Quadrophenic playground. You are a child in a club. One night in San Francisco, off the impeccable to fray nailed stud of a live Black Hawk, of the more and less than full divided air of a mistophone, through her devised air, O master of ceremonies miles, like a speaker and a whisper with a monster, say form a pit and brush somebody's hand. Make a mix in violent rubbing till your work is gone. Make a prompt of four square, then the squares collapse as separates, but other than before till work is made to disappear to register its fields as present in the sound and its sources. Everybody brush somebody's hand till work is gone to the alternate slam. How long can you sustain the four square? This is how to make little works just walking down the street, collaborating with the hand you brush as shawls serrate the length of her arcade. You want sensory issues. Curate the sound you make by jumping. Flap your hands before your eyes. In lengthening, become from another country. Imitate the movement but expel more air. Say this is your house and run a lap in it, but dance with the air immediately around the ones who seem at home. Repeat a word or phrase, slightly louder, up 3 steps then down, like a color block in a Hoffman painting. For a minute, say every letter of every word, but slowly. Hold somebody's hand up to your ear. I don't know how long I'm going, so all right, well, this is called Nancy Wilson Saved Frank Ramsey. Frank Ramsey was a great British philosopher who died very young in Cambridge, I think before World War II. But he was kind of renowned for being the only philosopher in Cambridge who wasn't actually scared to argue with Wittgenstein. So, and he thought Wittgenstein kind of tended towards mysticism, certain moments. And famously, when Wittgenstein would talk about how there were certain truths that couldn't be uttered, there were certain truths that there was no actual language for. Frank Ramsey retorted famously, I think, that what can't be said, but it can't be whistled either. So. The burden is also a refrain that runs through you. You get no credit or you get bad credit. Nevertheless, we write ourselves a sound check. The one we come to cash is written for us on our account. When Fred Wesley asked George Clinton what kind of horn arrangements he wanted, Clinton replied, "Something bad." Nancy Wilson and Cannonball recorded 2 versions of Save Your Love for Me. They ride and bear the history of voice and horn, arrangement and derangement. Derangement is something bad. Even our arrangements move in relation to the troubled pleasures of the first instance that can be sung through the singer, through words, or their turning. What gives you the right to love black music, this eruption out of and into catastrophe? How are you justified in claiming these pleasures, in their terribleness, between the impossibility of redress and the marked up, marked down, brutally inscribed, viciously discounted remains of the ones who, in spite of every unheroic act of getting over, can't get over, forming the lost body of our broken bridge? Salim asked me what I liked about Cecil, and I couldn't say. So now let me say something about what I want from Cecil's music, or about the way that music tells me what I want. Can I get to that, or do I need to get over that? Or are these moments of getting to and getting over connected, as in the second instance? She was saving something too, a social desire for sexual desire, often disavowed, indexed now as waiting. The incalculable combination of extravagance and thrift, their tuning. Cannonball's not there in the first version, but now, since we don't never know how we're gonna be acting, he moves in the joint's held arousal, blurred unison, vagrant shift. She joins and sings over Nat's fills, and he becomes something like, but on the other hand, way more than a little brother giggling from upstairs, cutting his displacement, amping up the sociality, bringing noise. Speaking of noise, what about the damage that comes from desire manifest his repeated play? Over and over again indexes unfulfillment and indulgence. Sometimes I listen just for the trace of that obsession. Now the digital technique keeps faith with the cracks and pops of love. Between love and saving, love and wanting, love and singing what can't be sung or said, between love and salvation, what it is continually to be saved by the music, continually to ask this of the music from way back and way up ahead, where desperation and desire cut each other up to put something away, the content of what can't be said in the scar of singing something for something other than that. Will the love that's held in these intimations that we love save itself for us? Will the social life that makes itself wait for us? Will the future, recorded live, hold on for us? I'm sweet Nancy Wilson, way past singing. I'm fabulously Cecil Taylor of the field. It's her part I'm always trying to sing, though she's not singing. Move my fingers to the feel, even though he's not here, alive, angled, remote, accompanied. They unconceal, pattern poised in illusion like it's supposed to be. Variation spins the theory of saving and can't be counted. Bring across the secret that trusts no words, saying something beyond saying, in the exile of voice and horn, whistled though it can't be whistled, said in singing though it can't be said in leaving singing, said in leaving it unsung, song of desire, safe from desire, saved in desire. So I'll read a couple more. And then this is from I don't think I can make it all the way through, but it's called Jackie Byard, Blues for Smoke. It's kind of like imaginary liner notes for the songs from that album. So, okay. So the first lines or the first few words are the titles of the songs. So. Excerpts from European Episode. The history of the soloist who is not one, of one in nothingness, in cherry and choir, of things in blossom and aperture, a stray horn through a crack in the wall, the narrows between the open mouth of the wall, the decreasing permanence of the wall in open air, up under the gun tower, spilled in pipe space, embalmed, little brother's barrel, little Richard's upswept twirl, her platform, her impossible upper room in rolling stone, her Hammond and her smoke, which can't be shown. But you weren't there before it woke you. The history of double life and after hours, Hollis stump, Apollo stomp in early rising, a fury, locomotive organizing sculpture, breaking tools, equipped, amused, épuised, tore up in vapor, whose monolithic skin has many skins, worn different than itself and others, all disorganized in being worn. That cube on the makeshift handstand, just a circle on the floor, a little squabble, the sound of love without a terminal. His tinny, tinkling, breaking apart is right on time. Strode rode off into off-stride in Freddie Webster's mystery, a movement in a distillate, quickening that they can't shoot out of us. Putney stomp and Holcomb step to that hole on the hill that's on top of the world, where the particles are still on tour. The history of the slur is lovely. No voice without the common slur of owing. Big underwritten road in Arkansas, Chicago, unowned and open recipe, a breath of string to savor, Lyonnaise, Milanese, the merely culinary expression that moves between them, destitute in that same old place that if you can't love, who do you love? When the dissonance is free and you know why you left a secret in the workshop, abandoned every time they say one more time, an encore of Mingus alternative fingers, Horace Parlin brings around as something missing, speaking. Can't you feel what you can't hold if you can hear? The massive skip in code, the carvers fade as smoke for blue, which can be shown. Aluminum baby. Discovery troubles things. His murmurs bury things to uncover them. He makes things prettier than everything. He misunderstands. He forms an association of things that look like this, moving critical as this stiff flow. He's aluminum. An artist gives you flowers with a sound on edge. An aroma moves you to the jitney stand across from Ventos. An engineer in a broken sentence in a thick surround in Garner's air and aluminum who've been mixing shade all day. The one they say a brawler in Kansas City. It's still out the corner of your eye on the edge of the other side, a flower with an urn inside. Her eyes covered, her ears shut down, thinking how to get across, in theory, in wind, like Memphis Minimal. Pete and Thomas, tribute to ticklers. Abelard and Talus are in love. They met at a rent party next to an air shaft, and they fell. They never go to sleep. They span time like Morton Feldman. Back to back, they play the beast with two fronts. Other stuff get held back, but not this, which is most tough, too. That bad habit of playing patty fingers, riding around in strange habit and carriage, as if the old days had old days that harnessed chargers and tillers, all fucked up from working, smuggled around like a rhythm section. Rhythm sections smuggled, generally, as part of their duties. They're domestic in a foreign sense, and if you don't believe me, ask Susie Ibarra. It's all love, as you know. What they don't forbid, they overlook, which is worse, as you know you know. But one never knows, do one? All one can do is take care of the one who keeps one's time off, fold out in the water. Spanish tinge number 1. Like maroon speed and Iberian note blacking on the Luciphone, when Ferdinand was thinking of expansion, wondering where the surplus would come from, wondering what the surplus was, wary as all his cups began to fade. The theory of itinerant note blacking and line worrying was celebrating 1,000 years of bursting from the writing of its practice like a star. It was already there as something else from someplace else always. When it arrives as the difference you always move to be, from someplace else always that you never been, welcome it like a tight chemise dropped in a storefront on 125. The venereal nation under our feet won't even have kings for a day. The Spanish Quarter, the Latin Quarter, the French Quarter, the mill quarters, and the barrack yards. The flight of the fly. Servants of the hardest time are the next spring. This is my sky song. The books in my cell are a Jackson in your house. See how idle that chat gathers around things? That wood 22 was chopping, his axe. Miss Thing chat fragile, kit shake. Hugh is rough, Hugh be soft with longing, Paul in mining, the social life of things beside themselves, laughing through Alan Lomax, a lot of times just sitting around. People be talking about the work it comes from. A lot of times people be sitting around talking about how some people think it only comes from sitting around. Mosquito turn to just be turning up across the river. Hear all that endlessly beginning segue and see. Sing it so the count come back clear in a flat array of rows. Parchman's general intellect is a blues for Julius Eastman. Cut off, basically. Julius Eastman is the countess of the blues. Blues for smoke. The velocity of waiting, which is right next to the philosophy of waiting, most famously articulated in a blues called Why We Can't Wait. The ensemble of particulate articulation between black and flu, raising and can't wait, all the way to court and spark and flint is still on tour. Eyes a slow train you can look at from beside the track, see every car pulse when repetition stumbles off abstraction. The period is a degenerative condition, a developmental disorder. It associates with loneliness for the multiple. Sometimes they grow, and sometimes they just curl, then chill to the next episode. Her ashes are everything folded over us in the cold for the exhausted to return, or for the new thing to come. Jackie's blues next. Just calling, just lining out while they sell that flower. Here come presents out of nowhere. The social hum of movement is the essence of it, because that is black power. That is one of the elements, a sitting down together to reason, to ground, as the brothers say. We have to ground together in a gully, in a dungle, in the jungle, on an oil drum, till some furniture moving everywhere. The ballad of the underground is our Orchard Hill, our Clyde Woods, our way of shearing, the sound of residue and spacing like a bare living room in the morning air. When he's ready to get up and do his thing, when he wants to get into it, man, is paramilitary theory. The good foot is a blues march. The screamers are lost in thought to prepare the song they pair, like a next machine, man. Marshall Allen is so close, you can hear his people drumming. We are nowhere here. We are elsewhere, moving, doing it, you know, down slow, sounding, diving the shape we in. Diane's melody. An air for daughter number 2 is lovingly submitted as an intersection of rainbows. When Elvin was talking about a yellow symbol, the way a teacher might hold your hand, holding your face between my hands, and we name the colors we hear. The club must have been a haven for a family man, providing in the heavy air an air. Back off in the woods was full with the love of children, the terror of blues for children. How many generations in that room above the club? How many stories whispered in the groove of Storyville? All the little babies wrapped up in the corner, the relation between next, episode, breath, string, world, and our long night's festival is blue. The sound we make so we can see, that broken chroma at the end. Daddy, play my song again. 1, 2, 5. Jackie Byard is a sociologist. He is concerned with the evident incalculability in human action. If a pattern were to emerge, it would only be in refits and restarts, the sudden rise at a given tune that keeps withdrawing. His hesitation is a singularity that becomes our engine. Our engine is that continual propulsive chant that can't be said alone. The history of the ones who go off by themselves to make us say it. Make me say it again. Make me say it again, girl. See, this slight dehiscence is what I mean. It's got to be there, at the rendezvous of all in need, so we can hold our preferential option. The tortured logic of our line and run keeps that in reserve for us, if we want it, but it's hard to want. It's so violent and beautiful. Thank you.